What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe and maybe that notification bell too, if you enjoy the content of course. And a huge thank you to a new Patreon member yesterday. Natalia Warren, thank you so much for joining us. It really does mean the world. Your support is amazing. And just thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your day to watch these videos. It all means the world to me. Honestly, thank you so much. And with that being said, let's get in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from Dry Pickle 2905. Am I the arse of a publicly embarrassing ex-friend in a Zoom meeting? Throwaway. I, female 18, have colon cancer. I've gone for a few rounds of chemo and up to have surgery soon. I haven't lost my hair, but I've noticeably lost a lot of weight due to just being mentally and physically exhausted and just not having much appetite. I will admit, I've always been on the bigger side, so if people saw me now, there's a massive difference in how I look. I've never made an announcement about it, nor posted it on my social media accounts. I only told my family members, boyfriend, and a couple of my very close and trusted friends. I honestly just felt like I was lucky enough to even be able to have mine removed and have early intervention and have a couple of months worth of recovery compared to those who don't get the same liberty. There was a Zoom meeting for my class who graduated last year. I was on the screen with my boyfriend, just had chemo and I was just really tired. I only went on there just to help the current year looking into university and discussing my bachelor course with them. So one of my old friends, female 20, no longer friends because she's toxic, asked me if the rumour was true about me having cancer. I told her that I do have cancer, but I was lucky for early intervention. She then asked if I was being truthful because I still had hair. I told her that my hair is thinning. I have really thick curly hair and I've only had chemo like a couple of times. But the doctor explained something about what they put in, for what you have, or something I don't really remember. She was then like, well, why didn't I post it or whatever? And I was like, having cancer isn't something everybody needs to know. I'm not going to become Instagram famous. I tried to ignore it, but she kept going on and talking about how her uncle had cancer and lost his hair and died, and that what I have probably isn't cancer, etc. And I was just already exhausted. I just said, look, I really don't feel like I need to validate my cancer to you. Don't believe me? Fine, don't. I really don't care. I'm mentally and physically exhausted. I've lost a crap ton of weight. Just look at my medical bills if you really want proof. If you want to trade places, let's do that or shut the fuck up. She then went on at me, calling me a liar and that I'm only seeking attention because colon cancer isn't serious, and then she hung up and started blowing at my phone, but I blocked her. My boyfriend thinks it was hysterical. One of my friends says that I hurt her feelings and publicly embarrassed her. I feel bad now because obviously I didn't intend to do that, but I also feel pretty justified in how I handled it. Does that make sense? Am I the arsehole for how I responded? Also, the meeting was recorded, so it's posted on an online forum where everyone can see it. Holy shit, am I an arsehole for wanting to see that meeting? I want to see you tear her apart, man. And the cheek of her to say, you're only seeking attention because colon cancer isn't serious. I'm not sure about in the US, but in the UK it's the second biggest killer there is. Absolutely disgraceful from her. She deserved to be called out for that behaviour. Who goes on a Skype call or whatever, a Zoom call, in front of many people and says, oh no, I don't think your cancer's that serious. I think you're lying. Who the fuck does that? And if they do that, they definitely deserve to be called out for it. So no, not the arsehole. You should have given her a lot worse than that in my opinion. But let's have a look at the comments below to see what we can find. Sounds Pretty says, not the arsehole. If anything, she embarrassed herself. Lots of people keep their diagnosis to themselves and/or only share to those they are closest with because, ready for this, is nobody's business unless you want to make it their business, and then question that you're really not that sick because of XYZ is just plain rude. Keep her blocked and focus on your health. All I Live For says, oh my god, no, not the arsehole. You were so very tame in my opinion. Questioning your cancer because you still have hair is the shittiest thing I've ever heard. Not every hardship you go through has to be posted on social media to be valid and true. The entitlement of this woman astonishes me. Do not apologise for anything and do not accept her apology either. The Huntsman 227 says, not the arsehole, cancer is no joke and neither is chemo. She was already publicly harassing you, stating that you were making it up. She got a taste of her own medicine and didn't like the taste. I can see why she is an ex-friend. That's pretty shameful. Good luck with the surgery. Kick cancer's ass. And not meant for any of this, says not the arsehole, and she is an idiot. Not every chemo causes hair loss, and radiation only causes it where we are treating. She needs to take several seats down. I've been treating cancer patients for 15 years and didn't get my education from my family member that had cancer or off social media. What a tool. And so true. Now I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 1. And our next story is from Not a Real Vet A-Hole. Am I the arsehole for telling my wife's cousin that he isn't a real veteran? A couple of weeks ago, my wife and I had some of her family over for an outdoor, socially distanced barbecue. It was her mum, stepdad, aunt, uncle, and a few other of her cousins. One of her cousins, T, is in his late 20s. When he barely graduated high school, he joined the army. After going through basic training, he came home on leave and severely injured his ankle while jumping on a trampoline. He ended up having to get medical discharge from the army a few months later. Despite this, he claims to be a veteran, even though he's in the army for less than a year. He posts a lot of stuff on social media about how hard it is to be a veteran, how poorly they are treated, and what it's like to be a warrior for your country. Now, I don't disagree with a lot of that. I know a lot of vets in our country do struggle, and I think our country can do a lot better for them. I also don't want to judge too much because I have not served myself and I can't relate at all to the struggles some of those men and women go through. But the way it makes it seem like he's in the same boat as those people rubs me the wrong way. During the barbecue, he went on a rant about how bad medical care is for veterans when they get home and how veteran hospitals are severely underfunded. Again, I don't disagree with that at all. From my understanding, none of what he's saying was false, so I asked him if he had any first-hand experience with VA hospitals, and he said no. I then asked if he had any access to any medical benefits from his time in the army. He said no, that because he hurt himself at home and not during anything to do with the army, he didn't receive any disability or medical benefits from them. I could tell he was getting aggravated, so I dropped it. Later that day though, and asked me what made me such an expert on this stuff since I never served. I told him I never claimed to be an expert and I also never claimed to have served. He then called me an arsehole and said I need to keep my mouth shut since I will never understand what it's like to put your life on the line for your country. I told him he was right. I would never know what that's like, but neither would he, and I thought it was bullshit that he tries to make it sound like he was something he isn't. I said that I support veterans and understand that they choose to really put their money where their mouths are in a way that I never did, but I never claimed to be a veteran when I am not one. He got pissed and his mum and dad tried to calm him down, but he kept shouting at me how I'm a coward and even threw in a few derogatory slurs for good measure. He eventually got in his truck and peeled out through my front lawn as he left. His mum and dad left shortly after, but not before calling me an arsehole for talking to their son like that. My wife also said I was a jerk because I know how sensitive T is about the subject, but I think he needed to be called out. I can't remember what is this called, like, is it stolen valor that they call it? I'm not sure if you can call it because he was actually willing to serve in the army. I mean, he was going to do it. He was in there, but then injured himself outside of the army, so he couldn't carry on with it. So I'm not sure if it's called stolen valor or not, but in some ways, looking at this other guy, you know, some of the things he's saying is totally correct about, like, how poorly they're treated and stuff like that. So some of the topics he's bringing up are quite valid and quite important to bring up. But trying to include yourself in that when you've barely served in the army, I'm not sure if that's quite right. So I'm going to say you're not the arsehole simply because of that. And him saying things like you need to keep your mouth shut because you don't know what it's like to put your life on the line when he's never actually been in that situation. Although it sounds like he was willing to do so at the same time. So, you know, it's it could potentially go either way, but I'm going to say not the arsehole in this story. Let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Carnivore PJC says, ah yes, stolen valor. Yeah, I thought it was. I will give him this. He at least was willing to serve. Granted, circumstances dictated that he wouldn't be able to, but he was at least willing to put himself in a position in which he might have to die for his country. So there's that. Plus there's the fact that he's involved in a good cause. Speaking as a veteran myself who relies heavily on my VA benefits, yes, I put in my 4 years and was honourably discharged at the end of my enlistment. I do appreciate it when others stand up for us. On the other hand, despite his claims of being a veteran, he's not eligible for any benefits, and if I search the directory, I would not find his name. The TA aspect of this is kind of a tough call. You asked him a few simple yes/no questions about whether he qualifies for benefits or has any experience with VA hospitals. He was getting upset, so you appropriately dropped it. Now here's the crucial point. He sought you out afterwards, challenged you and attacked you personally. You defended yourself and finally called him out on his bullshit, and in turn, he threw a fit and tore up your lawn. So my vote is not the arsehole. Send him a bill for the sod and labour needed to repair the lawn he damaged. Fuck my lighter is dead says not the arsehole. He's not a fucking veteran. That's like saying people who go to med school for one semester and then drop out of doctors. He's using that I'm a veteran as a personality trait because he isn't an interesting person. My entire family is military. We volunteer with a CVMA, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, coordinate veteran funerals, help vets access healthcare and housing, etc. If he spent time with actual vets, they would eat him alive. Core Canham says, not the arsehole, he's not a veteran and he needs therapy to work on his personal issues. What happened to him sucks, but it's not your problem and it doesn't make him a veteran. It's insulting to veterans that he's riding this pity train. Now I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 2. And our next post is from a deleted account. Ooh, am I the arsehole for refusing to walk up the aisle as best man? My best friend Liam is getting married in January. He asked me to be his best man and his brother Craig to be his groomsman. His fiancée asked Craig's wife to be her maid of honour and another friend to be a second bridesmaid. My wife is Liam's sister and has not been included in the wedding at all, despite us having Liam as our best man when we got married last year. There's been some falling outs in the family over the past, and the result is we are very estranged from Liam's fiancée. I'm sure if she could, she wouldn't have let him ask me to be best man. My wife cannot stand her and is really hurt to be the only sibling excluded from the wedding. Now the problem. For some reason Liam's fiancée wants the groomman to walk up the aisle with the bridesmaids before she enters. She said technically I should walk up linked with Craig's wife since I'm the best man and she's maid of honour. But she thought it would be sweet to let Craig and his wife walk together, so I'd be with the other bridesmaid. An important note is that the bridesmaids are both wearing white. I don't get it. So honestly it's going to look like 3 weddings at once. The whole thing feels like Liam's fiancée has set it up to spite my wife, since she'll have to sit and watch me walk up the aisle in a suit holding the arm of another woman in a white dress as part of a wedding she should have been a part of. I told Liam I wasn't comfortable with it and he said I was being unreasonable and it's only 30 seconds, then I can sit with my wife and I should be glad his fiancée wasn't asking me to dance with the bridesmaid during the first dance. But this is just 30 seconds, then done. It's one of the most important moments in a wedding. Everyone will look and there will be lots of photos of it. My wife is already apprehensive about the fact she'll be alone during cocktail hour while I'm photographed with a wedding party. At my wedding, groomsmen were already at the altar before the bridesmaids enter, so I don't see why Liam couldn't just tell her to do something like that. He said his fiancée's word on the matter is final, and if I don't agree, he'll ask his brother to be best man instead. I got angry and told him what I think of his fiancée and how much she hurt my wife by not including her. He responded by saying his fiancée would have asked her to be bridesmaid, but there's been too many falling outs since they got engaged in 2018. I honestly think he just said that to be a dick and blame his sister. We haven't spoken in a few days since then. Am I the arsehole here because I feel like I'm being forced to be uncomfortable and make my wife uncomfortable in the process? I don't get it. I mean, she said that she can't stand her yet still wants to be a part of that wedding. What? And why would the bride want someone who can't stand her to be a part of her wedding too? It just doesn't make sense. And I can't see the bride like tailoring her wedding just to spite someone. It doesn't really make sense. Why would she make a special day like to spite someone else? And I've been to a fair few weddings in the past, and from what I know about weddings, bridesmaids ain't just there to look pretty and make everything look nice. Usually the bride is like working with them to get things done, or the brides are helping out with various things on the side, making sure things are in place and all that kind of thing, especially the head bridesmaid. It all just sounds like a bit of a mess, and it's probably right that you do step back as best man and let someone take over, because obviously it's going to cause some massive resentment, a massive argument like it's already done. Whether you can sort that out, I don't know, but it's probably for the best in the end. But I would have to say, I think you are an arsehole in this situation, just because of what was said at the start and it being like your wife doesn't really like the bride anyway, and probably vice versa, right? So what is the point? Let's have a look at the comments below to see what we can find. BoneGirl06 says, you're the arsehole. Why in the world will Liam's fiancée ask someone who can't stand her to be a bridesmaid? Bridesmaids have lots of duties and the bride needs to be able to count on them. Being a sibling doesn't entitle you to be in the wedding party. Your wife is being petty and unreasonable. I feel like you are attributing negative intent to walking down the aisle portion because you all just don't like the fiancé and think everything is about you. Liam is right, it's 30 seconds and done. If your wife can't handle that, then I don't know what to tell you. Their wedding is not about you. Webby Vanderquack says, you're the arsehole, your wife cannot stand Liam's fiance, but has some exception that she should be a part of the bridal party. Why is your wife apprehensive about the fact that she'll be alone during the cocktail hour? Why would she be upset about you walking down the aisle with a bridesmaid? Sorry, but you and your wife are the problem here. Kakistan says, you're the arsehole, I get you're disappointed your wife isn't included, but honestly there's no reason for her to be. She's the groom's sibling and the bride has no reason to include her as maid of honour, especially as they're not friendly with each other. You say you're upset because you included Liam in your wedding, but he's including you to the same extent he was. Finally, it's extremely narcissistic of you to assume that the bride's plan for walking to the altar was to entirely conceive to spite your wife. It's 30 seconds, suck it up or drop out because it seems like you have an unreasonable problem with the bride. Now, I turn it to you guys. What do you guys think of the story? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 3. And our next story is from Knight Errant. Would I be the arsehole if I complained to a school for children with learning difficulties about the noise? So my friends and I moved into a property over lockdown here in the UK, summer. We're uni students that currently aren't at physical lectures. So we're at home most of the day / sleep in, especially with the windows open most of the day because of the heat still. It's been pretty good so far, but since about 2 weeks ago, since the kids have started school, I've been woken up by sporadic yelling / moaning from 100 yards down the road. I looked at the school and it's for children with severe learning difficulties / disabilities. I went by and looked at the school and it's actually pretty fine, and most of the students seem not to be the noisy type, despite how close the proximity is. It just seems like one child who will sporadically yell / scream into the day like they're locked up in an asylum. I wouldn't even have a problem with a normal school if the noise was constant, but the way it pierces the silence every 10 minutes or so is just so headache inducing. I've thought about complaining to the school / bringing it up with them, seeing as I believe it just to be one child, but I really don't know what they could do / what I expect them to do. I just want to make my feelings known, I guess. It's probably not worth it, but I just wanted to confirm if I would be the arsehole. Edit, you all seem to be thinking I shouldn't have moved next to a school if I didn't want noise. Normal school noises / kids play would be fine. This is not that. This is almost haunting, and the Google Place records doesn't say about being for severe learning difficulties. I mean, you kind of asked the question during the story, what do you want them to do about this? One child that's screaming because they got learning difficulties and some severe problems that they scream out every 2 minutes or 10 minutes or so. What do you want them to do about it? Kick the kid out? That's not going to happen, and it'd be so wrong to do so anyway. Yes, I imagine it would be jarring every once in a while, but you just sort of get through it. I mean, it's only going to be during school hours, right? So what we're talking about, 9 to 3 here or less, especially during COVID times. And I mean, I think if you was to put in some sort of complaint into the school, you would be the arsehole. But at the moment, all I can say is that you're probably just ignorant to the fact that, you know, this is going to happen. There's going to be children with disabilities in school, and this could happen, you know. You live next to a school, you're going to get noise. But hey, I may be wrong here. Let's have a look at the comments below to see what we can find. Lawnmower owner says, you're the arsehole. What do you want them to do exactly? Kick out this one child who's being noisy and most likely has complicated needs. Kalia Tom says, it's like, I'm sympathetic because I remember what it's like in school when I had a class near the special education wing, but this kid is likely unable to help it, and if it can't be helped, you can bet your ass they're already working on it with the kid and wouldn't appreciate you trying to rush them on it, and deserves whatever education they can get, just like all the other students at the school. ETA, and yes, that includes social and mental independence education of unstructured playtime with other children. Sir Platypus says, you want to report a special needs child who is noisy during school time pretty near the middle of the day because it disturbs you trying to lay in and laze around. How is this even up for debate? You're the arsehole. Judgmental B Aisha says, you're the arsehole, get a pair of noise cancelling headphones. MoFun says, you're the arsehole, welcome to what life is like when you live near a playground, childcare centre, school, community pool, etc. Some children love to scream and make noise. Maybe you could wake up at a decent time and go volunteer at the school. They always need volunteers at schools. Not sure what kind of the volunteering stuff at the end was about there, but maybe, who knows. But I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of the story? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to vote on that poll in the description for story 4. Once again guys, thank you for being here today. The time out of your day is always truly appreciated. And just thank you for the support and everything just recently. It's been absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one. Take care guys. Much love.